If tomorrow you were given 2 unexpected free hours, would you start? Or would you find another way to fill them? Because if time were truly the problem, any extra space would fix it. One free afternoon would change your direction. One lighter week would finally launch what you've postponed for years. But that never happens. Time shows up. You say you don't have time. That sentence has become automatic. It appears every time something important gets delayed, every time a project remains an intention instead of an action, every time a decision is pushed into later. I would, but I don't have time. The explanation sounds reasonable. The day has 24 hours. Work consumes most of them. There are responsibilities, there are obligations, there are unexpected problems, there is accumulated fatigue. There are tasks that never fully disappear. Time feels compressed. The central belief is simple. If I had more time, I would do it. If my schedule were lighter, I would start. If things were more stable, I would move forward. It's not lack of ability. It's not lack of interest, it's lack of time. And that explanation carries a powerful advantage. It doesn't accuse you. It shifts responsibility to something external, something no one fully controls. The world became demanding. Expectations increased. Obligations multiplied. The day shrank, and you remain intact. The logic appears solid. If you wake up early, work 8, 9, sometimes 10 hours, return home drained, handle domestic tasks, respond to messages, manage obligations, where exactly would something new fit? Where would you place a serious side project? Where would you insert consistent study? Where would you carve out space for disciplined training? Where would you introduce meaningful change? The equation doesn't seem to balance. Intelligent people believe this explanation because it aligns with daily experience. You genuinely feel short on time. You genuinely end the day exhausted. You look at your calendar and it's full. You look at the clock and it moves faster than expected. There is also comparison. You see others producing more and assume they must have advantages. Fewer responsibilities, better circumstances, earlier starts, structural support. That reinforces the narrative. In your case, time is the constraint. There is even a fairness argument. Everyone technically has 24 hours, but not everyone has equal conditions. So it must be context, it must be workload, it must be structural pressure. It cannot simply be discipline or prioritization. And because this explanation does not threaten your identity, it feels safe. If there is no time, there is no choice. If there is no choice, there is no fault. Now consider something simple. If time were truly the only issue, any unexpected gap would solve it. One extra day off would be enough. One lighter week would finally unlock progress. A brief calm period would trigger action. But what happens when free time appears? It rarely turns into the thing you claim to want. It gets absorbed by distractions, by passive consumption, by low-risk activities, by tasks that do not expose you. Time shows up. Decision doesn't. And that contradiction changes everything. Changing careers does not just require an open calendar. It requires risking being wrong. Starting to train does not just require 40 minutes. It requires tolerating visible awkwardness. Learning something new does not just require silence. It requires admitting you are not already advanced. Time can be measured. It's easier to say you lack time than to admit you fear exposure. Time is external. Fear is internal. Time is situational. Fear implies responsibility. Notice something else. You consistently find time for what does not threaten your identity. Entire seasons are completed. Endless scrolling sessions happen effortlessly. Long conversations unfold without resistance. Not because your day expands, but because those activities do not challenge your competence. The explanation begins to shift. Maybe it isn't a shortage of hours. Maybe it is a shortage of willingness to step into discomfort. Your mind resists this shift. If you admit the issue is not time, but courage, the narrative changes completely. Now, stagnation is not the result of overload, and that threatens your image of yourself as responsible and constrained by circumstance. So, rationalizations appear. I'm genuinely overwhelmed. This isn't the right season. Once things calm down, I'll start. I need to be fully prepared. None of these statements are entirely false. You may indeed be tired, timing does matter, preparation has value, but they also function as shields. Acting before you feel ready means accepting the possibility of failing publicly. And public failure is more uncomfortable than indefinite postponement. There is also a moral layer. You tell yourself you're prioritizing family, protecting mental health, choosing rest. And often that's legitimate. But mixed into those valid priorities can be something else. The avoidance of situations that would test your competence. The brain prefers identity stability over painful upgrades. As long as the official explanation remains "I don't have time," the internal tension stays manageable. Nothing has to change. The consequence doesn't explode overnight, it accumulates. You remain busy, you remain justified. You keep saying now isn't ideal, but later will be different. Later becomes a moving target. Projects remain intentions. Ideas remain conversations. Plans remain drafts. Nothing collapses, but something stays suspended. That prolonged suspension creates a specific kind of fatigue. Not physical exhaustion, psychological weight. The weight of unrealized versions of yourself. The repeated awareness that something could be happening and isn't. Over years, your internal narrative hardens. You begin to describe yourself as someone who would like to but can't. That identity starts to feel permanent. Not because time was missing on one specific day, but because, repeatedly, the decision not to confront discomfort was made. And each time, the explanation stayed consistent. Lack of time. Maybe you are genuinely busy. Maybe your responsibilities are real. Maybe your schedule is legitimately full. But the question remains, if tomorrow you were given 2 unexpected free hours, would you begin what you claim you want to build? Or would you find another way to occupy them? As long as the automatic answer remains "when I have time," nothing has to change today. The narrative stays stable. The environment validates it. The explanation protects you. But if, at some quiet moment, the suspicion arises that time is not the true obstacle, the structure begins to crack. And once that crack appears, the sentence "I don't have time" no longer sounds neutral. It starts to sound like something else, not a shortage of hours. And that realization doesn't offer comfort, it only removes the excuse.